This is 1 yen. It's less than 1 US cent. So in other words, this little guy is worth less than any actual amount you can spend on a thing in the United States of America. These two boxes back here contain an entire PC. And by an entire PC, I mean a screen, an actual computer, a mouse, a keyboard, everything you need to set up a computing experience. This 1 yen paid for this, well, not this exact one, but 1 yen paid for this entire PC. The only thing I know about it is that it's a Sony Vaio branded thing, nothing else about it. So this is the box that I think houses the PC because, well, the other box is weirdly CRT shaped. I'm pretty sure it comes with a CRT monitor. You know, what can you expect for 1 yen? So let's see what's going on inside this little guy. Here we go. This is the top of the box. All of the packing peanuts. I don't think I've actually ever seen real packing peanuts, so this is quite exciting for me. Here we've got pretty extensive bit of documentation for it. Wow, that's like a thick book of stuff. Here we've got a power cable, another power cable. Oh! Where am I gonna plug that in? I don't have those ports here. Oh, here we go. Keyboard. Oh, that looks dated. And here is the beast of a machine. And here we go. Here is the finally unboxed PC. And as you can see, it's an absolute beaut. I can't actually believe that I spent only 1 yen on this thing. It looks amazing. And here's the rear I/O. As you can see, there's a network card, a graphics card, and there's even a printer port, which is nice and retro. And now it's the moment of truth. It's time to open up the PC. One thumb screw, so that's quite ahead of its time, you know, it's nice and easy access. Weird for an OEM, usually they're quite... Oh, okay, well, let me put this here. That's an interesting power supply placement. So this is all power supply and the PC's kind of behind it. So right off the bat, there's a bit of an issue. The PC doesn't have PCI Express slots here. They're just PCI slots, which means this graphics card probably sucks a big one. And other than that, it means that a follow-up video to this one that I wanted to do isn't going to be able to happen. But so this is a really interesting power supply placement. Having it right over the CPU seems like a bit of a weird choice. But yeah, so let's get it off and see what's happening under that. Okay, so this is actually quite interesting. The power supply has already been unscrewed by whoever the owner was, so he obviously had a peek at what's under the hood before. So let's just kind of slide it out like that. There we go. Oh, it actually looks like it has, and I'm in the way of the light here a little bit, but it's actually got an aftermarket cooler on it, which is an interesting choice. Wow, that looks amazing. So it's starting to become fairly clear why the guy didn't list the specs, because this is some graphics card that I don't recognize at all, and the CPU seems to be either an old AMD socket or not even an LG 775 Intel socket, but older than that. It's quite difficult to tell because you can just kind of see the top of it under the heatsink, but yeah, This thing's probably older than I am. Okay, so what I've been able to establish is that this is an X1300, which is, yeah, a very old AMD graphics card, or, well, it was ATI back then. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's got a network card in, and I'm pretty sure these two were added after the fact, because the owner kind of said something that alluded to that. But this is a pretty old PC. Judging by the graphics card, probably around 2005, 2006. And yeah, so let's find out what CPU it is. Let's put it back together and just boot it up and see what happens. And here is what the finally built PC looks like. It's like being back in 1999. And now's the moment of truth. Does it actually start? Here goes nothing. Oh. Oh wow, it's really loud. Like properly loud. Oh, there we go. Something happened. This is 1 yen worth of PC, and there we go! There's XP! Oh, it doesn't show up very well on camera, unfortunately. It's a bit flickery, to be honest. But yeah, so this is also when we're about to find out what the actual CPU is. So yeah, this is a smooth experience already. This is already struggling more than I thought of. Oh, and of course it's all in Japanese. Oh, this is actually quite an interesting insight as well, because you get to see what kind of stuff Japanese people have on their PCs. MSN Explorer, that's retro. We've got SONET, which I think is an internet app thing. Oh, Windows wants. Oh, wow, that means it needs a driver installed. I actually think the guy was using it in this state. It's not even... Oh, and he actually was using Internet Explorer because there is no other internet on here. Oh wait, but I'm stalling. Let's have a look at what kind of specs we're packing. I think R means property. Oh, there's a 0-byte hard drive on it. That's interesting. Let's look at the... That's... It's got an 8 gig hard drive in it. That's pretty huge, to be honest. I'm sorry that this is taking longer than it should. I forgot how to use a Windows XP PC. So I think you say properties on my computer. Oh, it's got a 1 gigahertz AMD Athlon processor in it with 500 megs of RAM. Wow. This is quite difficult to... I'm sorry that it looks so rubbish on camera, but this is all in the name of science. Yes, so it's got it's got an undisclosed Athlon CPU in it that's just running at 1 gigahertz. I thought it was an AMD looking socket. 2002 is the version of Windows XP. Let's see, I don't actually think, so he put a graphics card in it. I'm pretty sure he put the graphics card in it. And, well, he didn't install drivers for it. So he has a graphics card in here, but with no drivers. That's an interesting tech. So he sold this PC without actually having done anything to it. Like, he didn't like reformat it or anything. It's still got all this stuff on it. Actually, I don't know how well the camera is picking this up, but it's properly loud. Hello. It's properly loud. Let me actually get the camera closer. I honestly don't really know what I was expecting, but this is actually worse than I was expecting it to be. I can't load any web pages fully enough so that I can actually download a driver. It just keeps popping up some warning, and then the web page just closes down. So I'm starting to understand why he didn't actually have a graphics card driver installed. Say what you will about this PC though. Is that not the most satisfying CD opening and closing sound ever? Oh yeah. Okay, so the PC pretty much doesn't work in its current state, so I've decided to reinstall Windows XP on it and see maybe if a fresh install can give it a new lease of life. So this is pretty much the funniest thing I think I've ever seen. So let me just get this into focus. And I am behind the microphone, so it might sound a bit rubbish. But so what this guy did is, initially it seemed as though there was this. Pretty much an 8 gig hard drive available on the PC. But so what the guy did is he actually partitioned the hard drive into 3 partitions, or into 2 partitions at least. One being that 7.6 gig partition that he had for his operating system, and then he just kind of didn't format the other partition of the hard drive, so he left 144 gig of unallocated space, which doesn't show up on the PC. So he basically is just using 7 gig of what is 160 gig hard drive. Now, I apologize for just the general horribleness of this shot, because I can't have my big light on, because then it just blows out the entire screen, and when I don't have it on, all you see is flickering Half-Life 1. Now, this has been a bit of a journey from hell for the past 3 or 4 hours to actually get it to run anything, but I've finally gotten it to run Half-Life 1. Oh wait, here we go. So this is pretty much running at, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's not even a frame a second. This is a frame every 10 seconds maybe, if you're lucky. So the reason that nothing's working, kind of game-wise, is that I can't get a graphics card driver installed. Okay, so this is actually pretty hilarious. So after that whole Half-Life incident, I decided maybe 3D Mark 03 would work, which, if it didn't run Half-Life 1, I don't know why it would run 3D Mark 03, but, you know, I like to dream big. Anyway, so I launched 3D Mark 03, and it basically goes through a list of every test that it has, telling me, oh, the graphics card doesn't support this, it doesn't support this, it doesn't support this, and then it tells me that, oh, well, it doesn't really support any of the tests, please throw it away, basically. But the interesting thing that I kind of got out of this suite is that it doesn't pick up that the machine has a graphics card in it, which is the same thing that all of the drivers kept telling me, that the PC doesn't actually have a graphics card in it. Now, I know that it has a graphics card in it because I've touched it, and the signal here is coming from a GPU, but there must be something wrong with the graphics card that nothing in the system is picking up that it's there, even though it's actually outputting a video signal. Yeah, I guess you get what you pay for it, to be honest. Okay, so I've just pulled this guy out, the X1300, which there's obviously something wrong with, because the PC's running significantly better. Like, look at that. It's not doing half a frame a second kind of thing anymore. Okay, so it was running just as badly as it was earlier, but then I changed the renderer to a software renderer and kind of put the... Oh wow! It's actually kind of running a little bit. It's running horribly and I can't see anything, but it's running. Let me see if I can put the brightness up. Okay, there we go. So the brightness is up on the monitor now. Now I can actually see something. So there's a guy talking here. Oh, got my hazmat suit. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's running absolutely terribly, but it is kind of running, which is impressive. I mean, I wouldn't call it playable, but... And the fact that Half-Life isn't playable is pretty outrageous. But for a 1 yen PC without an actual GPU in it, I think that's not too bad. I mean, I think if you find a PCI graphics card somewhere for it, but if you're spending any money on this thing after the fact, you're still wasting money. And with all of that out the way, I have to say that personally this video has been a bit of a disappointment for me. Yes, I only spent 1 yen on the PC, and yes, that's a ridiculously tiny amount of money to spend on it. But I think, honestly, you could have better luck finding a PC in a dumpster, to be honest, because this thing is useless. Most of it came down to this GPU. The guy was really excited about the fact that it has a VGA card in it, but the VGA card doesn't work, so what's the point? I couldn't even run Half-Life on it properly, even with this thing pulled out, and with it in software render mode. It was virtually unplayable. I couldn't run any of the benchmarks on it, so even 3D Mark 03 isn't supported by this machine, so I can't compare it to a $15 PC. Actually, on that note, $15 PC was a way better expenditure of money and way better value than this thing. Even though it didn't come with a monitor, a mouse, or a keyboard, it was still useful. You can actually kind of run games on it. You can actually have fun with it. Whereas with this, all it does is make you want to pull your own hair out. So I'm sorry if this video was a bit of a waste of your time, because it honestly was a bit of a waste of mine. Hopefully you get a bit of excitement out of watching me tinker with this thing and watch it drive me gradually insane. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do like it and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming. If you disliked it and you thought it was completely pointless, do dislike the video and leave some hate comments below. It's always exciting. Anyways, that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. When all's said and done about this PC, one super cool thing that it does is that. Isn't that pretty insane?